It was July 3rd, 2011. It's a day I'll never forget. Outside it was beautiful. The sun was shining. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. And the temperature was just right. Everything on the outside was practically perfect. But everything on the inside was the complete opposite. I had just woken up after a night of tossing and turning and struggling to stay asleep because I just had one of the worst arguments of my life, and that was with my best friend, and his name is Harrison. And Harrison and I did everything together. From the time we were in first grade, we did Boy Scouts and baseball and even skateboarding. There was hardly anything that Harrison and I didn't do together. And so when I told Harrison, it's over, I'm done being your friend, he went from being just a few blocks away to feeling like he was a million miles away. But it was summer break. And I'm sure a lot of you guys here know how precious summer break is. It's a gift. It's one of the few times throughout the year that we get to wake up and do basically whatever we want for 3 months long. Do you guys understand that feeling? Yes? Well, I woke up determined to enjoy the day, because I wasn't gonna let this day get wasted. So I walked over to my Xbox, I turned it on, and I put in my favorite game. And I sat down with bags of chips and a mini fridge loaded with soda. And I was prepared to enjoy that day regardless of how I was feeling. And after a couple hours of playing this game, feeling really good, after a couple hours, I began to forget how bad I felt. But then, after about half the day passed me by, I started to realize how broken and empty I felt on the inside. And how the fact that my best friend wasn't going to be here with me today, or possibly tomorrow, or possibly next week because I called off our friendship, I felt pretty miserable about that. And I began thinking about how I could make it right, or how we could be able to hang out again. And then all of a sudden, the door to my bedroom swings open. And my dad's standing there in the doorway. And I'm thinking, oh crap, he's probably going to tell me to go do some chores or get off my butt. Do you guys know that feeling? When your parents walk in your room and you know you haven't been doing hardly anything but watching TV, or you're on social media all day long? Do you guys know that feeling? Exactly. But this time, something was different. My dad had this look on his face, this look of defeat. His eyes were sunken in, and his shoulders and his back were slouched over. And I hadn't seen my dad this way before. So whatever he was going to tell me, I wasn't excited for. And so he said to me, John, come over here. And I walked over. He embraced me with a hug. I started to embrace myself for whatever he was going to say. But what came next? There was nothing in the world that could have prepared me for this. And that's when he said, John, Harrison died last night. And I said, no, not my best friend, not the guy that made everybody laugh, not the guy that everybody loved. He knew everything about me. This can't be happening. This is impossible. And then he told me that Harrison had taken his own life. And as soon as I heard those words, I fell to the floor. I fell to the floor because I couldn't handle the weight of what just hit me. It felt like the weight of the house had just collapsed on top of me. And I quickly fell into depression. And I began isolating myself. And I began to blame myself. And I would say things to myself like, John, if you would have just forgiven Harrison, if you would have just said, Harrison, it's okay, buddy. Let's move on. Or Harrison, I just want to be friends again. He'd probably still be here. And then the torment continued, and eventually that self-blame turned into self-hate. Turned into self-hate when I found out that I wasn't invited to my best friend's funeral. And it felt like his parents had just pointed their finger at me and said, yeah, it is your fault. You're the reason our son is gone. And I couldn't escape the darkness. I felt frozen in time, tormented by the thoughts of being responsible for my best friend being gone. And I couldn't even escape this great level of pain that held me hostage every single day. Because when I'd go to sleep, I'd have the same horrifying dream. And it would start like this. I would get a call, and I would find out that my best friend was on the edge of taking his own life, and I'd run down the street, and I'd break through his door and run down into the basement and see him hanging there from the rope that was about to take his life, and I'd cut it. And that would save his life. I was the hero. I was the hero that saved my best friend. But then I'd wake up. I'd wake up in a cold sweat with the horrific news setting in that my best friend was gone. And there was nothing that I could do to change it. That Harrison was gone forever and that I couldn't save him. And one night that pain became so intense. It was so unbearable. It was so heavy. It had put me into a place of darkness that I never felt like I could escape. And so I decided if this pain won't leave, then I will. And I decided to grab a rope, and I made way to the bathroom, prepared to hang myself from that rope, motivated to end it all, and committed to stopping the pain. And when I was standing there in the bathroom, and what I felt like were going to be the last few moments of my life, all of a sudden, I heard a knock. I heard a knock, followed by my mom's concerned voice. And she said, John, are you okay? And I was shocked. I was shocked because in that moment, I had undeniable proof that I mattered, that I was loved, that I was cared for. And it didn't matter what I had done or who I had become, but that I was important. And if my mom didn't take just 5 seconds to say those 3 words, I wouldn't be standing in front of all of you today. I would likely be nothing but a fading memory. And when I realized how much I mattered to other people, to even just my mom, it gave me the strength and knowledge to know that I had more to live for. And so I walked downstairs, just analyzing and reflecting on what I was about to do. And I came to the conclusion that if I would have taken my life, that same pain that was on my shoulders, that same weight that was on my shoulders, was going to be put onto the shoulders of everybody that knew me. It was going to be magnified and multiplied, and everybody that had known me or that cared about me would soon feel that same weight and heaviness and very likely it could have led somebody to feeling like it was their fault, to feeling like they could have been the hero, but that I was gone forever. And maybe they would have found themselves in the same position to take their own life. And that's when I heard something that changed my life forever, my view of suicide forever, my view of mental health forever. And that is, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I'm going to say it again for you guys, because it's so important. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I'm sure some of you sitting here today have probably told yourself at one time or another that you're not worth it, that your life isn't worth it, that you don't matter, and that you should probably just end it all. And I've been there, and I know what that feels like. And so right now, I've got a very important question. A question for each of you. But I ask that you give me a completely honest answer. But I don't want you to speak out loud. I want you to think the truth to yourself. And that is, have you ever thought of taking your own life? And now, I've got a question that's important for you to answer. But I just want you to show me the truth by a show of hands. How many of you know somebody who has ever thought about taking their own life? And I want you to keep your hands up. I want you to keep your hands up because I've got another question. For the rest of you here tonight, by a show of hands, how many of you have ever contemplated, how many of you have ever experienced self-doubt or had a lack of confidence or struggled with your self-esteem? I want all of you to keep your hands up, because right now is a gift. It's a gift because you have undeniable proof that you're not alone. That almost everybody here today has gone through a struggle similar to yours. And they've experienced those feelings and probably those same thoughts. So we're going to do something together so important. And it's going to take just 3 words. All I want you to do is turn to your neighbor and say to them, "You are important." And give them a high five. That's awesome. And for the rest of you, and for those of you that haven't contemplated suicide or know somebody that's thought of taking their own life, and you haven't struggled with confidence or struggled with a lack of self-esteem or ever doubted yourself, right now you're in a very rare spot, a spot that not many people get to stay in. And if you're in here now, it can change in a moment. But the good thing is that even though you're not experiencing these problems, is you have the ability to be the hero. The same hero, just like the same hero that saved my life. And all it can take is demonstrating that you care. And sometimes all that is 5 seconds to say 3 simple words. Are you okay? It's that easy. And so I want everybody here today to say those 3 simple words with me right now. Are you okay? Isn't that easy, guys? Isn't that pretty simple?